are just about getting there. Like they just sneaked in out wide, diving over someone. They, let's trust the match officials, just about got the ball down and goal on the one that looked like a really great try until you're like, well, it's on the line. But the goal judge had a better view than we did because he obstructed our view from all the cameras. So we've got to give it to them. And whereas when Saints scored their tries, it seemed like there was an exclamation mark on them. They were emphatic rather than just, which it seemed like the difference, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah.
Paige said, not much to say this week. Sounded like a decent effort from Rovers, but effort can only take you so far, and ultimately it's just another loss to add to the cards. At least Tom is a little bit happier this week, although I'm pretty sure his man crush on Vai has pretty much broken apart, just like his defence. Help save Tom's broken heart.
Bless him. Tom Andrews, another bottle thrown on the pitch too. Quickly identified by our own fans, swiftly kicked out and seen crying his eyes whilst having his details taken by the stewards. Good riddance, don't come back. Well, if you're going to throw a bottle and then start crying, then, you're just an idiot all round, aren't you, generally?
That's more reporting, isn't it, than a match review from Tom. I mean, it does seem worrying that we're getting this, and particularly Hull KR have had a few instances this season in the last month, really. And what the crying in his eyes and all that sort of emphasises is that these are just thick fucking kids who obviously don't know right from wrong, don't know how to not behave like a fucking dullard, because he's got a consequence now, as he can't support our game because he's a stupid fucking kid.
Yeah, totally.
It really winds me up.
Me too. Yeah.
And then it has a knock-on effect of making other people around not want to be there as well. Which is upsetting, and all because there's a kid who doesn't understand how to behave.
That's right. Don't know where the line is. Yeah.
And anyway, St Helens. I mean, the thing about this St Helens side, the scary thing about this St Helens side, is that they're not like Wigan have just got a left edge. Huddersfield have just got a right edge. Castleford
Leeds have just got
down the middle. Leeds have got Conrad O'Rourke. But Warrington, if you can stop the speed of the ruck, you can stop a lot of what goes on. With this Saints side, they can cut you up.
They've got strike everywhere. They've got strike everywhere.
So many ways. And Makinson and Grace have both had tries out of nothing in this game where look, if you want to turn around and talk about referees and stuff as the opposing side, look at those tries and think nothing to do with the referee, and where was our defence, by the way? And they both had tries that were like that were absolutely electric. And then Nguama had, he was starting to come into a bit of criticism potentially at Saints, because it didn't feel like he was.
I agree. Yeah.
It didn't feel like he was exploding onto the scene. It didn't feel like he was really hugely contributing.
It just felt like he was treading water a bit, and he'd just come here for the money.
Well,
I don't know.
A part of a good team rather than an overseas signing who you were expecting a lot from. But the last 2 weeks, 7 tries and lots of assists as well. He was outstanding on the highlights for this game, and what I've read of this game, it sounds like he was the main strike threat. But Johnny Lomax, and they just pop up all over the field, the playmakers at St Helens this year as well. But they're making the right choices so often as well, and showing off the skills, and everything you see, there's just someone's doing something good at Saints all the time. It's so fucking annoying.
It is, yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah, that's right.
But for Hull KR, it sounds like there's potential there, but they just haven't got a defence. They've conceded 50 points twice in the last 3 weeks, maybe 3 times in the last 3 weeks. They've conceded another whole bunch of points again in this one, even though, they talk about being competitive or whatever. They've conceded 8 tries. You're not going to win games, unfortunately for them. So that's where they need to really sharpen up is the defence, because it looks like when they get chances, they can take the chances. even no matter who's playing in those outside backs positions, really, because you wouldn't have Will Oakes in your first choice lineup, would you? For example.
No. I think Hall's having a bit of a swan song as well. He seems to just keep popping up every week and playing quite well.
Yeah, whoever they have at fullback, when it was that young player whose name escapes, Will Dagger, or obviously last year with Adam Quinlan, they all seem to be. And I don't know if it's Maguire's influence on the team. I don't know if it's that, but they all seem to be popping up in good space, always there.
Well, maybe it's just how Sheen sets up his teams.
Maybe it is, and he teaches them where to be in the right places because they're always there, no matter who's playing at fullback. They always seem to be making a real impact.
Mm-hmm.
But well done to Saints as they go marching on. Do you want to take us through the standings?
Yeah, so St Helens have 26 points and a 4-point lead over Wyre. There's then a 6-point gap to the rest with Wakey, Catalan and Hull FC on 16 points. Salford and Castleford sit just off the playoff spots on 14 and Wigan 8th have 12 points. Huddersfield stay on 10 and Leeds and Hull KR stay on 8 and London are at the bottom on 6.
Yeah, I think the stat line of the week probably just about goes to Tommy Makinson. 3 tries, 1 try assist, 11 tackle plus 196 metres, 4 clean breaks. I'd probably go my player of the week as Kevin Nguama, though. And the fact that Saints are jumping out into those topics for me emphasises the benefit that they got from playing on Sunday this week rather than Thursday or Friday. Every team that played on Thursday or Friday had serious flat moments in their games. It doesn't feel like there was so many flat moments in this game between Hull KR and St Helens that finished the round. And those couple of extra days maybe were a big factor. But Wigan played 4 games in the 14-day period from Good Friday to the Thursday game that they played. Everyone else had at least one more day than that, but most of the teams had that 14-15 days. And we've talked about Easter all these years, haven't we? It's like, first of all, well, if you can get up for it or if you can rotate your squad like St Helens did this year, for example, then it's not a problem. And then we started talking about, it's that third game that becomes the problem because scorelines get really blown out one way or another. And now it's all of a sudden it's that fourth game.
Like we said, it's a month. It's like, you get some good rugby at start and then it's just shithouse,
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard to keep track of like how many games down the line are we expected the intensity to still not be there for. Now, hopefully, there's no game on Thursday this week. I think that was a sensible decision by the broadcasters to agree with the RFL. It seems like, because they've put the second Sky game of the Challenge Cup on the Sunday evening rather than on the Thursday time, rather than on the Thursday, and I think that really does make sense. And hopefully, when the sport gets showcased on the BBC, we might get to see some exciting stuff this weekend coming up. We'll get to that in a little while. But did you have a player of the week that you wanted to pick out?
I think I was impressed by Makinson, but I was just the Willie Army try for me. I thought it was outstanding. I like to see a good effort like that. So got a bit of good individual skill. Yeah,
there was a lot of tries where people broke from their own halves, weren't they? But that one stood out because of, like I say, that those double acceleration points where he kept finding another gear just when a defender looked like he was in way of it. And I mean, I think it surprised him because the way he celebrated it, the force of celebration. Into predictions, etc. So I went 5 out of 6 last week. That gives me a 68% success rate overall so far this season. Alan 6 on 69%, Sarah on 67%, and Tim wallowing down on 58%. Lee, who was our guest co-host in your chair last week, Rich, he went 50% there. He 3 out of 6 for him, which wasn't an ideal performance, I wouldn't suggest. In the Super Brew, co-host Alan, he's moved to the top of the leaderboard in that, so he's winning in the co-host and he's winning overall in our Super Brew League as well. But Graham Redgewell wears the yellow cap this week. Into the Fantasy League, Alan Bagley stays on top of the table, of course he does, but second place Sarah Morgan's 8 into the lead a little bit more this week, so well done to her. The chase is on. The best weekly score was 743, which was by me.
Oh.
So I'm maybe making a resurgence. I finally got around to doing some transfers last week. So maybe
That's it. Yeah.
if you pay attention to the side, apparently good results. Anyway, thanks for those who did get the fan views in this week. Like I said at the top, not our biggest week for fan views, but thanks to all those who contributed. And make sure you do look out for the Google form links for the fan views on next weekend's games. All the Challenge Cup games will pop up on your Twitter feeds with reminders to give your fan reviews on the Google Forms. We're now going to move on to other results. Other results time then into the Championship, where it was round 13, which was unlucky for some, including Dewsbury, where they lost 38-0 at home to Toulouse. Then on to Toronto, who won 36 points to 16 in front of over 8,000 people against the Bradford Bulls. We had a couple of fan views in on this one, Rich.
Yeah, and Shoddy and Mungo got in touch. We were right in this one for the first 55 minutes with desperate defence and a conservative game plan. Eventually the better quality told, but proud of the Bulls' effort today. And Genghis Campbell got in touch and said, damp and miserable pre-game, and that was just 300 Bulls fans in the pub. Actually awesome. Still around 8.5k in the ground. Yeah, if you say so. Early on, 14-0 to
Don't go Derek Bowman on us.
Yeah, no, I'm not. That's where I got it from. But Bulls back to 14-12 by the end of the first half. Order restored in the second half with O'Brien scoring a try and hitting a streetcar with the conversion, which should definitely be worth extra. Kay marked his return with a try because he's Liam effing Kay.
Yeah, he's a big fan favourite, isn't he, down in over in Toronto? And it's nice to see him come back after a horrific, gruesome injury last year against Halifax to get a try, so well done to him. We move on to Halifax, who were 46 points to 10 winners over Barrow, so a nice start continues for Simon Grix. Lee 42, Sheffield 38 in a barnstorming back and forth game that had a late Liam Hood winner. Rochdale 10, Featherstone 56, so Matt Calland watched Rochdale do what Rochdale have done all year and probably will continue to do. Swinton 10, Widnes 32. Paul O'Brien got in touch, Rich.
Yeah, Widnes, so it's POB 1976. Widnes back to winning ways after a hard-fought win against a spirited Swinton side.
Excellent stuff. He's doing a bit of a tour of Championship. I think he's going to have got covered off most of the grounds by the end of the year, as Paul and Grace. York 28, Batley 24. So narrow win for York against one of the teams in the bottom half of the table, but they'll take that. And we'll find out why in a second, because Toronto hold a 4-point lead at the top of the standings. They're on 24 points. Toulouse are second on 20. They've also got a 4-point gap to a group of 4 sides that are on 16 points. So there's Sheffield, then Lee, then York, who are 5th. That's the final playoff space, and then Bradford as well. Featherstone and Halifax are still in playoff contention. They're on 14 points, so just 2 points outside. Batley are 9th, Dewsbury are 10th. Widnes are out of the drop zone onto 11th on 4 points. Ahead of Swinton, and then the bottom 2 of Barrow and Rochdale. It was the first round of the 1895 Cup, the road to Wembley, probably 95% empty stadium, unfortunately, because it's going to be after the game, but we'll see how that goes. Hopefully not. But the road started here. Newcastle 38, Keighley 12. Hunslet 28, Workington 31 in the game that was on the R-League app. Cracking second half to this one. And Oliver Wilkes scored a hat-trick from prop forward in this one. Oldham 48, Whitehaven 12. I don't know if Whitehaven may be focusing more on the league by that result suggesting. And Doncaster 70, West Wales 6. It was round 1 as well of the Women's Challenge Cup. So some of these sides might have familiar club names, but they're not necessarily far along their progression in these amateur women's sides just attached to the pro clubs. But but some interesting results. Rochdale 12, Barrow 56, Halifax 24, Hull KR 14, Featherstone Lionesses 18, Stanningley 48. Stanningley were one of the sort of strongest sides in the Championship last year, so it's not a surprise there. Widnes 16, Alton Raidettes 14, Keighley Albion 24, Hull FC 22. Warrington, who are probably this year's leading contender in the Championship, 80 points over Wigan St Pat's 12. RAF Ladies 28, Lee Miners Rangers 18, and a double for our armed forces as the Army beat Huddersfield Giants 34-12.
All I can say is I wouldn't fancy a night out with the Lee Miners Rangers, would you? Holy moly!
I don't think there's a single woman who played on in any of those 8 fixtures that couldn't have me in a fight, to be honest.